So today we are going to discuss your next topic, that is the Rolex Act. Already in the online class we have discussed. So I'll give you just a rough idea of what was the Rolex Act. So basically, Rolex Act was one such act that was very hurriedly passed. ठीक है, इंपीरियल लेजिस्लेटिव काउंसिल में बहुत जल्दबाजी में ये एक्ट पास हुई थी. And what was the drawback of this act, why people reacted to this act? First reason was that Indians were always opposing to this act. इंडियन जो लीडर्स थे हमारे वो अपोज कर रहे थे कि ऐसा कोई एक्ट नहीं आना चाहिए, बट हरीडली दे पास्ड इट. और रॉलेट एक्ट गेव इनॉर्मस पावर टू द ब्रिटिशर्स. इस एक्ट ने बहुत ज़्यादा पावर्स दे दिए थे ब्रिटिशर्स को. बिना ट्रायल का दे कुड अरेस्ट एनीबडी विदाउट एनी ट्रायल. कोई ट्रायल नहीं करते और वो किसी को भी अरेस्ट कर सकते थे. सो दिस वॉज द फर्स्ट ड्रॉबैक ऑफ इट. एंड दे और जनरली व्हाट दे यूज्ड टू डू इज, जितने भी पॉपुलर लीडर्स होते थे, पॉलिटिकल लीडर्स होते थे, उन्हें ये अरेस्ट करते थे. ओके, बिकॉज इन इंडिया वी फॉलो आवर लीडर्स. और किसी भी मूवमेंट से इफ़ यू रिमूव द लीडर्स, द कंप्लीट प्रोसेशन और कंप्लीट फॉलोवर्स, दे आर एमलेस एंड क्लूलेस. दे डू नॉट नो व्हाट टू डू. ओके, सो लेट अस स्टार्ट. Emboldened with this success, Gandhi ji in 1919 launched a nationwide satyagraha against the opposed Rolex Act 1919. This act had been hurriedly passed through the Imperial Legislative Council despite the united opposition of Indian members. It gave government enormous power to repress political activities and allowed detention of political prisoners without trial for 2 years. Mahatma Gandhi wanted non-violence civil disobedience against unjust law, which would start with a hartal on 6th April. So Mahatma Gandhi was against this law, against this Rolex Act, because Rolex Act में they could arrest any political leader and could keep them for 2 years trial. That means 2 साल तक उन्हें जेल में रख सकते थे. So महात्मा गांधी डिसाइडेड दैट अब जो मूवमेंट होगी वो नेशन वाइड मूवमेंट होगी, एंड दैट विल स्टार्ट विथ अ हड़ताल ऑन 6th April. The हड़ताल had to be managed to be started on 6th April. Rallies were organized in various cities. Workers went on strike in railway workshop and shops closed down. Alarmed by the popular upsurge and scared that lines of communication such as railways and telegram would be disrupted, the British administration decided to clamp down on nationalists. Local leaders were picked up from Amritsar and Mahatma Gandhi was barred from entering Delhi. On 10th April, the police in Amritsar fired upon a peaceful procession, provoking widespread attack on banks, post office and railway station. Martial law was imposed and General Dyer took command. So what happened? Gandhi ji had urged people, he had requested people that now we'll follow the policy of civil disobedience. Civil disobedience means that we'll not be violent in our act, rather we'll not support Britishers. ब्रिटिशर्स बहुत थोड़े नंबर में इंडिया आए थे, एंड विदाउट इंडियन सपोर्ट दे वुड नॉट बी एबल टू रूल द प्लेस. सो दिस वॉज वॉट वॉज डिसाइडेड दैट अब हम ब्रिटिशर्स को सपोर्ट नहीं करेंगे, विल नॉट रेंडर आर सपोर्ट, रादर विल टेक अ बैक सीट. ओके, now then what happened was Britishers what they felt that if such thing take place, अगर shops बंद लंबे समय तक रह जाती हैं, रेलवे स्टेशंस बंद रह जाती हैं, टेलीकम्युनिकेशन और ट्रांसपोर्ट कैसे होगा? So what they started doing is they started acting in a cruel manner, because they felt that अगर हम बहुत cruelty दिखाएंगे then people out of fear will easily get back to their work. Okay. So since people were also angry with their such act, people also reacted in the same manner. उन्होंने बहुत सारे पोस्ट ऑफिस को पे अटैक किया, बैंक्स पे अटैक किया, रेलवे स्टेशन पे अटैक किया, और ये जो कंप्लीट मेस लाइक सिनेरियो हुआ था उसको कंट्रोल करने के लिए मार्शल लॉ को पास किया गया. ओके, नाउ व्हाट इज मार्शल लॉ? मार्शल लॉ इज वन सच लॉ, एक ऐसा लॉ जो कि पब्लिक गैदरिंग को प्रोहिबिट करता है. यू कैन से अ सिचुएशन लाइक कर्फ्यू. ठीक है, कर्फ्यू की तरह सिचुएशन होता है. एंड जनरल डायर टुक कमांड ऑफ द प्लेस. नाउ on 13th April, the infamous Jalyawala Bag Incidents took place. On that day, a crowd of villagers who had come to Amritsar to attend a fair gathering in enclosed ground of Jalyawala Bag, being from outside the city, they were unaware of the martial law that had been imposed. Dyer entered the area, blocked the exit point, and opened fire on the crowd, killing hundreds. His object, as he declared later, was to produce a moral effect to create in the minds of satyagrahis a feeling of terror and awe. So what happened? So on 13th April, a very infamous, it is not called as famous because famous is generally used for something positive. This was a very infamous incident that took place in Jalyawala Bagh, where people had gathered to celebrate the Baisakhi fair, and since people were from outside Amritsar, they were unaware about the martial law. उन्हें पता नहीं था कि public gathering नहीं करनी है. In the meanwhile, General Dyer enters the Jallianwala Bagh, blocks the only exit point, केवल एक exit point थी, उसे भी उसने block कर दिया था, and he opened fire on hundreds of people. Okay. So there were hundreds of people who were killed, and killing hundreds of innocent people made British government more unpopular in India. बहुत लोगों में ब्रिटिशर्स के प्रति बहुत ज़्यादा आक्रोश, गुस्सा, you can say anger, agitation, people were filled with this, and later the more adding to the anger was that General Dyer gave a statement that he had to produce a moral effect. वो लोगों को एक सबक सिखाना चाहता था that if you go against the British government, this is what end you are going to meet. So this was a very heart-rending incident that took place in the history. Now let us see. As the news of Jallianwala Bagh spread, crowds took to streets in many North Indian towns. There were strikes, clashes with the police, and attacks on government buildings. The government responded with brutal repression, seeking to humiliate and terrorize people. Satyagrahis were forced to rub their nose on the ground, crawl on the street, and do salam to all sahibs. People were flogged, and villages around Gujranwala in Punjab, now in Pakistan, were bombed. Seeing violence spread, Gandhiji called off the movement. So you know what happened after Jallianwala Bagh? The people could clearly see the cruel face of Britishers. और अगर आपके साथ कोई cruelty कर रहा है, immediate reaction will be that you will even act in the same manner. This was what was exactly done by the Indians. They also started attacking British officials. They used to attack British buildings. ठीक है, और British भी उसी तरह से attack करने लगे. That means a complete violence was involved in this entire movement. And since violence was involved, Mahatma Gandhi was dead against the involvement of violence. So he called off the movement. While the Rolex Satyagraha had been widespread movement, it was still limited mostly to cities and towns. Mahatma Gandhi now felt the need to launch a more broad-based movement in India. But he was certain that no such movement could be organized without bringing the Hindus and Muslims together. So after Rolex Satyagraha was Rolex Act के against जो सत्याग्रह की गई थी वो fail हो गई थी, and apart from that it was not a widespread सत्याग्रह, बहुत widespread नहीं थी, बहुत थोड़े जगह में ये spread हुई थी. So Mahatma Gandhi could understand one thing very clearly, that if I have to make this a widespread satyagraha, if I have to spread it to each towns and village, first thing what I have to do is I have to involve both Hindus and Muslims. So the two prominent community in India is Hindus and Muslims, and strength lies in unity. So it was very, very important, and Mahatma Gandhi could understand that only when everybody is united, that will be the only way by which we can attain freedom. Now, one way of doing this, he felt, was to take up the Khalifa issue. So one way, what did he see? कोई reason होगा, कोई आप profit दिखाएंगे या आप interest दिखाएंगे तभी कोई आपको help करेगा. So he felt that Khalifa issue जो था, जो अभी खलीफा का issue चल रहा था Indian Muslims में, जिसमें Ottoman Turkey had come down और humiliating terms was used for the Muslim head Khalifa, वो एक issue था जिसके वजह से Hindus and Muslims could be brought together. The First World War had ended with the defeat of Ottoman Turkey. And there was a rumor that a harsh peace treaty was going to be imposed on the Ottoman Empire, the spiritual head of Islamic world, the Khalifa. To defend the Khalifa's temporal power, a Khalifa committee was formed in Bombay in April 1990. A young generation of Muslim leaders like brothers Muhammad Ali and Shaukat Ali began discussing with Mahatma Gandhi about the possibility of a united mass action on the issue. So Mahatma Gandhi took the खिलाफत issue. उन्होंने decide किया that अब ये खिलाफत issue जो है वही हमारे unity का एक reason बनेगा, and he took help from the two brothers of Muslim community, Muhammad Ali and Shaukat Ali. Popularly they are called as Ali brothers, and they started discussing with Mahatma Gandhi about the possibility of uniting or making it a mass movement. Mass movement means involvement of a broader public. Gandhiji saw this as an opportunity to bring Muslims under the umbrella of a unified national movement. At the Calcutta session of Congress in September 1920, he convinced other leaders of the need to start a non-cooperation movement in support of Khilafat as well as Swaraj. So Mahatma Gandhi now was very convinced, और उन्हें बहुत अच्छे से idea हो गया था that Khilafat issue जो है वो Hindus और Muslims को close ले आएगा. So in the Calcutta session of Congress that was held in September 1920, उन्होंने बाकी कांग्रेस के लीडर्स को भी, कांग्रेस वाज द नेशनल पार्टी एट दैट टाइम, उन्होंने बाकी कांग्रेस के लीडर्स को भी कन्विंस किया दैट इवन यू शुड हेल्प द you should help the Ali brothers and should join the Khilafat issue ताकि वो भी हमारी help करें. So a combined effort was done and a combined movement of non-cooperation movement was launched in support of Khilafat as well as Swaraj. So Khilafat means going against, खिलाफ किसी चीज़ के against जाना, and Swaraj, Swa means self and Raj means rule. So self rule. So this was all about it today. In the next video, you will be doing the non-cooperation movement. Thank you.